this event around Tolavid and the greater issue of plant-based health that in as a result of, you know, learning about going through this pandemic, as we've had the entire, you know, planet, humanity to go through this pandemic. Our scientists and doctors have learned a great deal. And so not all of that is, we've had really time for people to feel safe enough to process that. So some of what we're going to discuss this evening is about the ongoing health issues and needs we have as we've learned from this virus, and likely to learn from ongoing threats to our citizenry and our health. So that's really exciting, you know, a really exciting opportunity to share. But I do want to thank Todos Medical. They are the folks just doing really amazing work in trying to educate the broader consumer to the integration of great science with plants, with biopharmaceuticals, whole range of things that they're doing, but with a great ethos. And I really encourage you to want to honor them for helping put this conversation together. So you know, I want to first introduce Dr. Dorit. How are you? You can say hello, it's okay. Dr. Dorit is the inventor of the Tolavid supplement and herbal remedy. And just briefly, you know, here at the Alchemist Kitchen, we host virtual learning events. We focus on areas of plant-based health. We born and bred here in New York as an alternative for people to seeking options, not cures, but options from plant-based health, plant-based herbal remedies, botanical medicines, and allowing people to come and speak with an herbalist, speak with someone who has a bit of knowledge. One of our lead herbalists are joining us tonight, Jason Erden, who's also was very helpful in putting this event together. So let's not take any more minutes talking about me or Alchemist Kitchen. Let's get right to it. So Dr. Dorit, how are you?
I'm great, thank you.
So nice to have you. You know, she's joining us from Jerusalem. And, you know, it's kind of late, but you're such a phenomenal motivator and inspiration. So, you know, will be great, since we're talking about the ways in which to deal with virus in the broad sense, because I think that's the really interesting thing. I think that it will be wonderful if you could give us a little background and a little bit of your story, and how you as a scientist were able to come to a place to provide an herbal remedy that has so many great benefits for immunity, because I think it's about immunity that we're discussing in the great sense. So please, you know, tell us a bit, tell us the story a little bit.
Okay, I will, because it's really very interesting. So I've been working in the research of antiviral compounds, in the antiviral drug research, for several decades already, maybe 30 years or so. In the United States, in Tel Aviv University, and in the pharmaceutical industry. And my main focus in the research was an enzyme, a target for antivirals. The target was the 3C protease. You remember this name because this is the target for Tolavid. Tolovid inhibits this target. This target, the 3C, is the main enzyme that is responsible for the reproduction of the virus. Back then, 30 years ago, we didn't know that. I worked on the common cold, on the HRV virus.
So that was your origins, working on the common cold, right?
The common cold,
Wow.
yeah, the common cold.
That's
And in the common cold, there was the 3C protease, which was responsible for the reproduction of the virus. And I was working on the mechanism of the enzyme and on ways to inhibit it by assuming that inhibiting this enzyme will inhibit the whole reproduction of the virus and stop the reproduction and let the immune system deal with the virus. And over the years, it turned out that that's the case, that the 3C is really a target for antiviral compounds. It is comparable, the 3C, comparable to the AIDS virus, to the HIV virus. Actually, the common cold, the HRV, and the HIV are from the same family. The HIV has the HIV protease, and the cocktail that we all know that is the antiviral for HIV is also a inhibitor, a protease inhibitor. And we, in the HRV, had the 3C protease, and we were looking for inhibitors. What was the question?
No, I wanted to ask this, a big part of your competency is organic chemistry, right? So you're studying this enzyme. And I guess I think we're interested to know, when you use the term target to the inhibitor, right? Targeting to the inhibitor, when you're doing the science, are you focusing, really understanding this enzyme and developing what you term antivirals to really target it? How specific is it? To what level? A molecular level?
Yeah, it's the nano level, actually, the molecular level, completely the molecular level. What we are doing is building the three-dimensional structure of the enzyme. I mean, learning the structure of the enzyme to the smallest detail and learning the active site. Then we are calculating the activity of the active site and trying to build a molecule which will enter the active site and actually be like a cork. I mean, a bottle and a cork to the bottle. Bottle cap, yeah. And so this is the inhibitor, actually.
Fantastic.
And we were, for the common cold, we found the mechanism, and we were looking for an intrinsic molecule that will inhibit the enzyme. We found such a molecule, and afterwards we were searching 300,000 molecules that have this intrinsic, and we search for this intrinsic structure. And from the 300,000, eventually we found one which was very, very active. And this one has, Tolovid includes this molecule.
Yes, it's a great way for us to really understand Tolovid from the science up, because I think it also is informing us in a way to probably how even the research on the vaccines were approached, right?
Yeah, the vaccine, actually, maybe I will tell you a little bit about the role of the 3C in the reproduction of the virus. So the virus has a structure like a football, and on the football, everybody knows now the structure. And on the football, there are the spikes, and the spikes are the connection to the receptors. Now, in the ball, there is the RNA, and the COVID-19 is positive stranded RNA virus, like the HRV, like the common cold. And like the common cold, it also has the 3C protease. Now, when the virus goes into the cell, the RNA goes into the cell, it takes over the reproduction system, the ribosome, and translates the RNA into a polyprotein, a big polyprotein. The polyprotein has all the virus information, but it's not active. In order for it to be active, it has to be processed. It's processed like for small proteins, and each protein then is then folded into the right conformation.
I see.
Without this folding, nothing will happen. The virus just will remain as a polyprotein. But when cut, when scissored, then the virus becomes active and goes out of the cell. In addition, the 3C has another role. When it goes out of the cell, it forms an inflammatory reaction. And the inflammatory reaction stimulates other cells to be also prone to an attack by another virus. So that's the role of the 3C, and we must inhibit it in order to stop the virus from reproducing and let the immune system deal with it.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I mean, that's all. That was great. You know, let's take it from in the Tolavid, you're using the Gromwell root, right? The root, the Gromwell root. So could you talk a little bit about the ingredients of the Tolavid as an outcome now of that work? Of what are the ingredients that make it plant-based?
The Tolavid actually has it's a extract of a root of the Gromwell root. Now, the extract has many ingredients. We are looking for a special ingredient, which is very rare to find. We find it in not in many roots, because what we are looking for is the inhibition of the 3C protease. And for each batch that we are buying, we are looking for this activity, the activity of the 3C protease. So we're looking for this specific ingredient that is active against the 3C protease.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, what is your thought? What is your point of view on the vaccine? Briefly, are you impressed with the speed and the efficiency and what are you? Can you? There's so many people very skeptical. Are we in good shape there?
Where?
With the vaccines?
With the vaccines.
Yes.
The vaccines are great if the virus would not have been mutating all the time.
Yes.
But the viruses are mutating, and the vaccine is directed to the spike. So I told you there is the football and the spikes, and the spikes are the target. I mean, actually the vaccine are reproducing the spike protein only the spike protein. And the spikes, meanwhile, they are covered, but because there are so many mutations, there will be a time in which the spike will not be covered, and then Pfizer or J&J or whatever, they will have some gap in order to find a new target, a new RNA piece that would reproduce to form a new target. Now, for the Tolavid, it's different because we are targeting the heart of the enzyme, actually, the heart, the 3C protease. And the 3C protease, until now, it hasn't been changed. And also, even if it changes, the mechanism does not change. And Tolavid is a nutraceutical, a natural nutraceutical, which, the active ingredient, which targets the mechanism of this enzyme. And the mechanism does not change. So I think that the Tolavid may be used together or in the gaps between the vaccine periods.
Yes.
Take it either with for example, I was vaccinated. I hesitated a lot, but I did give my vaccination in the end.
Thank you.
When I was sure that it's quite safe.
All right. Well, we can go now. We appreciate you joining us.
But there is something in the vaccine that it might stimulate in the first days. It might stimulate a reaction of infectivity. So I think that in these days it's good to have Tolavid with the vaccination.
I was wondering what was helping you stay up so late at night. Now I know it's been the vaccine, so that's great. Let's move a little more into the conversation from the broader impact. We come back to the Tolavid, and we have another guest that I think would be great to introduce, Marissa, who is joining us from Florida, and Marissa is quite amazing in her competencies, and she has a master's of science in traditional medicine, which will be great for her to give us a little insight to that background, and has really a lot of integrative experience. So, I want to bring her into the conversation because we want to talk about, we'd love to hear what your observations are these days with patients and what's going on with compromised immunity, and give people a better sense of what's going on right now with people post COVID, pre-COVID, and give us a little. Of course, first, please give us a little bit of your background and join the conversation.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, hi.
There you are, Lou.
Hi, welcome.
Good to see you. Yeah, so I am based in Florida, and I have been a clinician of traditional Chinese medicine for 16 years. And so, again, alternative medicine, but really the hope being, and as we see going forward, that ultimately we go to the model of integrative medicine, because there are so many things that, when you start to work together, allopathic, the traditional medicines, whether it's through Chinese medicine or Ayurveda or homeopathy, it can really become a much more complete sort of health plan for individuals out there. And I think that this was something that was really brought to the forefront in my experience, especially in 2020, because, initially it was, everyone sort of went home and everyone was kind of in shock and no one really knew what was going on and how to approach it. And, what can we do to get in front of it? What do we do if we have it? I want to protect my family. And so then this brings this big conversation of immunity. And from my perspective as a clinician, one of the big jobs, I do acupuncture, I do herbal therapy, I do many things, but I think the biggest job is patient education. Sort of, helping people, go down this path and say, okay, you need to look at this relative to health. We need to look at lifestyle, diet, but this ongoing conversation of inflammation. So inflammation is something that we're seeing with the virus. Of course, anytime there's, a viral experience, there will be inflammation. And, as Dr. Dorit said, it's good, if you're having the vaccine and these symptoms are emerging, take something like Tolavid to, help to, sort of smooth that course and make recovery better. And so, products, you can use things in an acute situation, and then there's recovery. And then there's that third person of the people who wants to sort of take that proactive approach and sort of get ahead of it. And this is what we're seeing. So we're always looking for sort of the best options out there. And, Gromwell Root, thank you, Dr. Dorit, for all your wonderful research and everything, because it's so much needed to be able to offer something like this to individuals. Because, again, as I said, patient education, a huge part of my job. And, one of the being is, as I say, there are sort of three branches of healthcare. There's allopathic, then there's the traditional medicines, and then there's that third branch of healthcare called Dr. Google, which, people get on at 2 o'clock in the morning and start Googling symptoms, and before you know it, they're ordering things, and it may not be the right thing. But now we have something that, we have this scientific, studies behind it. We have the technology of modern research, showing us the efficacy of this, and then something that, throughout this kitchen, people, it will be ready available to people. And you can say, okay, here is something that you can do from a proactive approach, and I think that that's what people need. People need a proactive approach, because there's something, everyone felt very frozen, and everyone, sort of felt helpless. What do I do? What do I do? To get in front of this? What do I do to heal from it? What do I do? And so giving people products or techniques, breathing techniques, whatever it may be, rest better, eat better, take the refined sugars out, moderate exercise, all of these things that can help. But when you can sort of introduce something that has a targeted, quality as an anti-inflammatory, this becomes a huge, huge factor. And I think it's amazing. I think, to me, it's amazing, that sort of something that's come out of, Gromwell Root is something that has existed in the traditional medicinals for many, many thousands of years. And now to see it sort of come full circle, a traditional medicinal with, now science, getting these extracts and really getting the best potency from it. I think it's a great time.
It's important. It's important, definitely. It's important for people to realize that, when the word is used, extract, it's really it's reflecting a more complex creation. So very often products such as a Tolavid, get simplified. Oh, that it's Gromwell Root. That's not actually the case.
Actually, that's correct. And I need to go back to the science of it all.
Yeah. No. The Gromwell Root is an anchor. Think of it as an anchor. But the extract is a whole series of molecular contributions and to contributions to the formulation. But what I think Marissa, is saying too, that I like to go back to, which is, I think that we all, as we're starting to pivot to a light of some sense, we're here in the United States, health security. There is this sense of realizing we have to take more responsibility and be more self-directed, as you're saying, more proactive with our health and wellness, our health security, which I kind of like that term, because I think we've all felt, challenged, right? Tolavid being around immunity is a great companion, right? Taking Absolutely. A good immunity formulation every day when you're healthy is a good thing, the fact that when you're not healthy and you're combating flus and colds, which we combat every year, right? And that Tolavid is, along with other plant-based remedies, can be in your medicine cabinet, can be in your toolkit to take on a regular basis to strengthen immunity, which
Absolutely.
and then you, right, it isn't, maybe be great to speak to that a bit.
Well, that's exactly it, because what we're looking at is helping people to take a more proactive rather than a reactive approach. And so, what we're talking about here is immune resilience, I believe. And so, what is this? So immunity has, this concept of, messages. And again, Dr. Dorit can speak better than, to this than I, but, messages are received, signals are sent out. And when there's, an imbalance in that, if you will, that's when the inflammation can occur, and that's when, viruses can get the upper hand and everything. And so what we want this immune resilience, which is the bounce back, which is the system's ability really to up and down regulate appropriately. And, using things that are anti-inflammatories, at sort of, a maintenance level, if you will, tremendous benefit.
Hey, Dr. Dorit,
Yes.
if when we ask you, could you give us a sense of, if you're guiding us about healthy immune function, right? Let's take Tolavid, but what are including Tolavid on a regular basis, what for you believe are good tips for healthy immune function and staying preventative?
I want to maybe expand a little bit about the role of Tolavid in the immune function.
Sure.
And this relates directly into the immune function in COVID, because actually what happens in COVID, even if you have a good immune system, the COVID infects the cells and reproduce itself very quickly until the immune system realizes that something is wrong. Then many viruses already attacked many cells, and they go directly into the lungs. And then the immune system realizes that there is something wrong, and it is sending all its powers. If it is a strong immune system, it will send all the powers. It's even worse, and creates what we call the cytokine storm. So the body...
Can you repeat that? The what?
Cytokine storm.
Cytokine storm. Okay. What is
cytokine
that?
Storm.
Yeah. Yes.
That's dangerous. That's when the situation of a COVID patient deteriorates. When the immune system finds it in time, it can get over it. When it has enough time, when the virus reproduces itself slowly, and the immune system recognizes it like common cold or all the other viruses, it's okay. But what's dangerous in the COVID? The most dangerous thing is that the immune system attacks itself, attacks the lungs when it finds too many viruses. And this is called cytokine storm. So many of the new drugs are intended to stop to reduce the cytokine storm. What we want to do in the Tolavid, and what we are doing and showed it, and the Avraham Marilus, who is in the audience, treated like 5,000 patients that were in a very bad situation already. And they recovered because they didn't get to the situation of the cytokine storm, and even then it was reduced. But I see the role of tolovit in prevention, in like letting the immune system get used to the virus. So you get tolovit, the virus starts to reproduce. When it sees the tolovit, it stops reproducing. And then the immune system has a time to recognize it. It takes the one cell, or like the vaccine, it takes one cell and builds some immunity. Then again, if you keep taking it, the immune system slowly recognizes the virus, and it will not let it get into the situation of a cytokine storm. Now, the tolovit has another function, which is the anti-inflammatory and reduction the cytokine storm, and this is for patients that have already a serious disease. But the main thing is to prevent the deterioration and prevent a serious disease, actually prevent symptoms.
Yes. Yes.
So I suggest to take tolovit whenever there is a risk of infection. You feel a risk of infection, or you feel the slightest symptoms, that's the time to take the tolovit.
Okay. Okay. And in Israel, have you had the opportunity there to, in terms of research, what's going on in this field with tolovit and other nutraceutical research in Israel now these days?
So we really were lucky that Todo supported us in this research, because we knew about the Gromwell Root and the active materials, and also during the SARS epidemic, Avraham Marilus and I opened a company to do a rapid detection system for SARS, but the SARS disappeared. So we had the system working of detection of the 3C protease, actually, in like 10 minutes or less. But then 15 years have passed, and everything returned now. But in order to revive all the projects and really show that it works, we had to have research. And Todos provided us with the means to do research. So we did a research. We are doing a research with Professor Dan Pe'er in Tel Aviv University. Dan Pe'er is the head of research and development in Tel Aviv University, and the research is done in his laboratory. Also, we are doing clinical trials. One clinical trial is on the detection system. So we have a working detection system which shows a tremendous amount of accuracy, actually 96.7, or at least 1994 now, but like in the high 90s of accuracy of positive samples versus negative samples. So we are able to detect the 3C protease, like live virus, in about 10 minutes in many people. And this can create like really preparedness to, I mean, what everybody is looking for. Actually, we can check like 300 people all at once, and in 10 minutes, we can show if they have an infection or not. Wow. Now, about tolovit, we have also a clinical trial going on. We actually did one clinical trial, small one, in one of the hospitals in central hospitals in Israel, which showed an 10 positive patients hospitalized versus about 17 patients that didn't get the Tolovit, the medicine. And all the 10 people went home after like 5 or 6 days of treatment, versus in the other group, 5 people died. The CRV, and that's again relate to inflammation. The CRV in our cases it dropped down very quickly. In the other cases, it was raised, and there were like 5 people dead. 5 people had to need the needed respiratory, and the others stayed a long time in the hospital. And based on these results, now we are doing a second trial in Shaarei Tzedek Hospital. This time it is like a real trial, a real controlled trial with a placebo group and a real group with 66 patients. And half of them are taking the real stuff and half of them the placebo. And we're checking, again, it's a double blind test, and we're checking the effect of the Tolovit in shortening the time of the disease.
Thank you
Which
so
we
much
see.
thank you so much for sharing that. I mean, it's fantastic that you have the momentum here to be doing those trials and that research, and I think it's great. And thank you, Todos, for doing that. I think that we should give some time to the many people that are joining. So I'm going to look for some questions. What is a good formula to take when you take the vaccine? I don't know.
How many times a day?
Wanna comment on that? I'm not sure what that means. Is there any way we could do a clinical trial?
You take the Tolovit like when you take the vaccine, like in the 3 days afterwards, to take Tolovit twice a day.
After the vaccine, after the shot.
No, in the day of the shot and 3 days later or 4 days
3 days
later.
later. Oh, okay, that was the question.
2 times a day, 2 times a day, twice, 2 capsules, like 4 capsules a day.
Twice a day. Okay, thank you. That's a great tip. Anyway, they could do a clinical trial in South Africa.
In South Africa, yeah, if they provide money, why not?
Yeah, we have an email for you. Yes.
Mm.
Are there other herbs that are good to help with the symptoms? What vaccine did you take?
All of us are taking the Pfizer.
Pfizer, okay.
No, that's the only one in Israel.
Well, okay.
You know that we are a huge laboratory, the world's laboratory for Pfizer.
All the Israeli people, you mean?
Yeah. More than half of the population got the vaccine already.
Yeah. Marissa, when listening to Dr. Dorit, do you have any questions or thoughts you'd like to share or ask her? That might be helpful.
I could listen to you all night.
Yeah.
The research is so interesting. You had said that following the vaccine, it's 2 twice a day. Now, taking it would that be the same as a maintenance dose? So as you said,
No.
when somebody is feeling sort of the symptoms coming on of something, what would the dosing be there? Because dosing, I always think that's an important topic. If somebody
Yeah, yeah, okay. Okay, so when you feel symptoms and you are positive to COVID, so then it's a treatment zone.
Yeah.
And in the treatment zone, we need to take more. We need to take. It's also according to the weight of the person. And Avraham Marilus has a huge experience with this, and we are applying it also in the clinical trial. But what we are suggesting now is to take 2 pills when you have symptoms, 2 pills 3 or 4 times a day in a regular weight.
Regular weight, yeah. In the event that somebody has symptoms coming on just for not a COVID presentation, but as we talked about, when things start, you feel yourself running down, would that be 3 times a day as well?
It's like 3 times a day, but for a short period until the symptoms disappear.
Okay.
And also in the exposure, also I would take like twice a day.
Twice a day.
You know, at the Alchemist Kitchen, where we had the opportunity to sell the product and getting some testimonials and inquiries. One of the things that we're finding is that, you know, people are starting to imagine that they want to travel, you know, that they'll be safe. I'm saying even with vaccine, just they'll be traveling. And we often tell them, well, that's a good time to, you know, take COVID, have it as a travel ally, because you never know.
Right.
You know? And
Yeah.
and it really resonates for people, either those who've never not had COVID, so they feel blessed, those that have recovered, you know, from maybe a mild experience. You know, so Tolavit is the travel ally, you know, in your tool as you're going to go out in the world. And we all know there are variants and there are mutants, and having something you can take as necessary, you know, such as Tolavit is a great, very good response to that. We've had very good response from people who have called us and they said they've been tested positive, and can they, you know, get the Tolavit to help mitigate any further spread, you know. That's been another interesting and honestly, from, you know, testimonial, the good response. People seem very, very satisfied. It is true that you have to take larger doses of it when it's more serious, but in the spirit of being proactive and preventative, there's a great opportunity to have that as an ally. And but I wanted to ask you if a Tolavit had a girlfriend, you know, or a boyfriend, what other herbal tip would you say? What's another herbal supplement, vitamin D, vitamin C, you know, what that you believe is you know, a good friend to the Tolavit?
Okay, so first, your suggestion about the flights is like basic. I think that you have to take Tolavit while on flight, because just there is a virus. The virus starts to reproduce, and the Tolavit stops the reproduction. Same is with the vaccine. I mean, in the vaccine, I mean, when you take the vaccine, after 1 or 2 days, you are more prone to getting the infection, the virus. And when you take Tolavit, you are more sustained. I mean, there is a sense of stability with the vaccine. Now to your question.
Yes.
So your question is what to take with. So of course, vitamin D is the number one. Vitamin D is, I mean, we have a shortage of vitamin D in most cells, in most people. And vitamin D actually guards the cells against infections and abnormal reactions. Vitamin,
I'm sorry, go ahead. No, I'm getting a lot of questions. It's all good.
also, quercetin is good, and boswellia, which is boswellia is anti-inflammatory, very good anti-inflammatory.
Okay, great. Well, Tolavid needs friends, so these are
Of
good.
course.
Okay, let's do these questions. Does Tolavid conflict with medications like inhalers or medications for high blood pressure?
No, it doesn't. The opposite. The active material in Tolavid is reduces blood pressure and reduces sugar and reduces blood pressure.
And so then, you said, I have a question here. Why are you prone to get infected by the virus after vaccination? That's kind of gives me the,
Yeah. It's because there is a property of the immune system, which is called the acceleration of the immune system, that people do not talk about it, but it happened many times during the vaccination in Israel. And this is the reason, the acceleration of the immune system.
The vaccine it's kind of preparing the body to have the virus, so it's asking for the
Right,
virus.
because
I'm ready to fight you, right? It's
right, and because the vaccine is actually creating the spike,
yes.
and
Okay.
the spike is connecting with the receptor, and if there is a virus in the neighborhood, so the first cell is already infected.
Okay.
It's like more infected.
Okay, thank you so much. How does the Gromwell root of Tolavid compare and contrast in tackling COVID and boosting the overall immunity with respect to a medicinal mushroom blend tincture? So I guess, how
We
does,
have to,
did you understand? How does the Gromwell root of the Tolavid contrast and compare in tackling COVID, boosting overall immunity in contrast to, let's say, just good medicinal mushroom blend,
so the mushroom blend, like the power mushrooms, like cordyceps and stuff,
yes.
it just it boosts the immune system. Boosting the immune system is not it's not the same action as Tolavid.
I see.
It's not the same action. It's the general boost is not the same action as Tolavid, because what Tolavid does, it inhibits the virus and let the immune system tackle it.
I see. Marissa, in traditional medicine, maybe it'd be nice to talk a minute about medicinal mushrooms, and do you use them in your practice?
I do use medicinal mushrooms, and as Dr. Dorit said, the power mushrooms. So, cordyceps, cordyceps, things like this, tremelia is very good. And there are some good, as the individual has the question, the mushroom blends are very good, because then you tend to sort of get the best of, it becomes almost a little mushroom cocktail, and they can be very beneficial. To me also, there's something, again, this is something that I would use for overall. This is, we've talked about immune, sort of being immune compromised, or that sluggishness after having had, whether it's this virus, whether it's the flu virus, or a whole host of other things that we can be susceptible. In that recovery process, these come in they're very, very important. And these are also good for maintenance immunity. You don't have to take, you don't have to take a high dose. You don't necessarily even have to take it every day, maybe a couple of times a week. It depends on where the individual is in his or, in the healing process or their specific health road, because everyone comes in, we don't all come in with the same baseline health. People have underlying conditions, people have medications. So, all of this plays a factor into determining when and how you would take any of these things.
Yeah, power mushrooms like cordyceps and
Well, does that include like reishi and lion's mane?
yeah,
So
reishi.
at the Alchemist Kitchen, we've seen a very, very large interest. One because of the emergence of psychotropic mushrooms, psilocybin for the treatment of mental illness, which is getting a lot of attention.
Also for cancer.
And for cancer,
Yeah.
and then we refer at the Alchemist medicinal mushrooms are the reishis, the cordyceps, the Sagar. You term them power mushrooms, which is a great term. And I know in traditional medicine, they're used quite a bit, right?
Absolutely, and in most of the traditional medicines, whether it be Ayurveda or you'll see these mushrooms come up, and of course it's also relative to where the tradition comes from. Sometimes is what the mushroom, because it was what was local.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And also for those of you, I always like to tell people this, that mushrooms are not plants. They're their own thing.
They have very active ingredients.
Exactly. Let me see. So another question I have here is, what are the difference and similarities in mechanism of action? Do they work on different pathways? Are you able to answer
That's
that?
you, Dr. Dorit.
Yeah. So
the mushrooms and all of it.
well, I guess in the context of your research, your work, what are the difference and similarities in the mechanism of action? Do they work on different pathways? So is that the way the molecule is targeting to the enzyme? Are there different pathways of action?
They don't work on the 3C protease, I think.
Okay.
But we have to look at the active molecules in cordyceps. I didn't look into it. In cordyceps, in reishi, in the iris mushroom. So I don't know. I don't think that they work on the same target.
I think that's what's really important is for people to understand that there's a blessing with this research, because it's not just about the tolavid, which really shows how an enzyme developed to inhibit the replication of this virus within the body. And depending on the time and how you pay attention to symptoms, right? So we all learning with plants that you have to put your intention to being healthy. And not expect just the medication to take care of everything. This is also we emphasize this with our herbalists. Put your intention to it, because then all of a sudden you tune into the symptom that maybe you have a little flu, and you can go to your herbal allies, which is how we discuss this, your herbal allies. And because the plants are your friends, and the plants are conscious, they will work with you, and definitely if you have health issues, you should seek the expertise of integrative holistic practitioners, integrative doctors today, because it's such a worthwhile investment, So that's why I think the Tolavid is such a terrific product, coming and really having us have a dialogue around immunity, and how to really make ourselves feel stronger, because that's a so powerful a remedy, right, for health,
So actually, we can add to this that we need a very strong immune system to catch the cell, to recognize the infected cell, which was already stopped by the 3C, and create immunity against this cell early in the stages of the disease.
That's so fascinating. Doctor, Maria said, my mom and I had COVID the past summer. Do you recommend us getting the vaccine right now, immediately, or wait for the next one, or maintain with these natural suggestions, such as the Tolavid?
I would suggest to her that she would do serology and see the level of the antibodies that she has in her blood, she and her mother.
That's
And
a test that you take?
yeah, it's a blood test that tests the level of antibodies in the blood. I mean, how the immune system reacts.
I see.
Sometimes, and we have cases like this from people that Avraham Marilus gave um, the the medicine to his community. For example, two people, the heads of the community, very old people. They all the people around them, they were sick. They were sick, and only they took Tolavid, and they didn't get sick, and they developed the antibodies.
Wow.
To the,
Thank you so much. It's so great. I just see any other questions. Let me just say that you can learn more about Tolavid on our site. You can direct any additional questions you may have that you'd like to get to the doctor or to Marissa, just by getting them over here to the Alchemist Kitchen. We'll forward all questions, and there will be a recording, and hopefully this will be this really the first of a series of conversations we'd love to have with you and Marissa about health and immune health, and being able to check in with you around other areas of health that will help us, and be empowering for us. And I want to thank Chris. Thanks so much, Chris, who is really been the steward over the pulling this event together. And we want to thank everybody who came today. And Dr. Dorit, do you have any questions for Marissa or I?
just thanks. Thank you. And thank
so
todos.
We really appreciate
And,
you. We appreciate everybody. Come visit us down in Soho, and just ask for the herbalist, and we'll talk to you about Tolavid and plant-based health. Jason Erden is also available by email for people really want to know more about this great immunity product, and how we work together on any area of health issues. So we thank you so much.